If you could maybe touch on, from your perspective, what you feel that the benefits and risks of MDSAP are to industry.
So the most obvious one, I think is the most obvious one, is the fact that you've got, instead of 5 different regulators coming in 5 different times, you've got one auditing organization that's going to cover the jurisdictions for 5. And I say 5, but we've already mentioned here how we know that the European Union can quite easily be added. We know that the WHO is already utilizing, for fast-track purposes, the MDSAP program as well as the same approaches. The good thing is with the outreach that I did while at FDA, as well as FDA and the regulatory consortium members are still doing, is there's been significant outreach, for example, with the Asian Harmonization Working Party and with the ASEAN medical device manufacturers, as well as the WHO, or the World Health Organization, has a lot of other emerging regulators, such as the PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, Central and South American regulators, and many of them are very keen about looking as to how they might be able to utilize the MDSAP certificate, or if requested of the manufacturer, how they might be able to use the MDSAP audit report instead of doing their own audits or inspections. And this really is quite substantial, because with some of these emerging regulators, it is amazing how many people. There was one example 2 summers ago where a manufacturer shared the fact that they had an inspection that was announced by FDA in their small Asian facility. FDA's practice is the fact that they announce the inspection and also tell the foreign regulator that they're coming in and invite that regulator if they would, quote, like to observe that. Well, that country's regulator showed up with the FDA inspection, and lo and behold, the European Union had their notified body showed up for an unannounced inspection. That was 3. Kazakhstan happened to show up on the exact same day. So there was 4 regulators that showed up in this small Asian manufacturing site of about 50 people. Not only is that a nightmare for the manufacturer, it's a nightmare for the regulators, but clearly it illustrates the fact that it really is essential to try to reduce the number of regulatory audits. And that's the greatest benefit to the program for industry. Now, of course, the counter to that, or the risk, is the fact that the audit reports are shared by the 5 consortium members, and only those 5 consortium members, because of the confidentiality agreements that I mentioned earlier in the program. And it's available to all. It goes into a central repository, and as the regulators develop the IT portal, it will be in the IT portal. The good thing is only if it hits the triggers that are laid out in the MDSAP documents and the grading system that's used, which is based off the Global Harmonization Task Force grading system of having 1 5 or 2 or more 4s from a nonconformance perspective, does it trigger the regulators to even really look at the audit reports. But otherwise, the audit reports are still there and available. So the risk is that if you do not have a good audit and you're significantly in trouble and hit that trigger, you really will be exposed in all 5 jurisdictions, and that is really the counterbalance to doing it. But hopefully, that is a significant trigger. And to be perfectly honest, when I was at the agency, my last position being the Associate Director for International Affairs, I just want manufacturers to know regulators that have confidentiality arrangements with each other have been, for at least 15 years, actively sharing inspection and audit reports already, even outside the MDSAP program. So it has been done. The 5 members of the jurisdiction are sharing, audit reports on a continuum basis. So I don't want to scare manufacturers, because it has been happening. The MDSAP program just makes it that much more obvious that these things will be shared and utilized for reducing, regulatory burden. But if you do happen to get into trouble, then the risk is the fact that you've got 5 regulators all looking at you at the same time. The good thing is that the program is set up such that the manufacturer, if they do get into that type of situation, still works with the auditing organization. That's still their primary contact, and that the regulators then, as a coordinated group, will work with the auditing organization to get coordinated efforts. And then the goal is still not to have 5 different regulators come in and do for-cause inspections, but to have coordinated follow-up and agreement as to which of the 5 regulators would go in from a regulatory perspective and perform the follow-up. So even then, there is the benefit of having the regulators coordinate any additional for-cause follow-up as well.